When it comes to narcissistic people, there are lots of different personality types within the spectrum of the disorder, and without at least 5 of the 9 criteria, such as that sense of entitlement, exploitative behaviour, lack of empathy, envious of others, someone's behaviour doesn't necessarily make them a narcissistic person. And just because a narcissist doesn't act in a certain way doesn't make them a non-narcissistic person. Behaviours such as ruining special occasions. You're more likely to get a vulnerable narcissist that's feeling hard done to ruin a special occasion for someone else than you are a grandiose narcissist who's going to put that charismatic charm on to gain the admiration and throw a lavish birthday party, expecting eternal gratitude and gaining enablers and flying monkeys in the process. When it comes to a grandiose narcissist, they can be very in your face, very boastful, very arrogant. They can get away with behaviour that most of society doesn't necessarily approve of. They can get away with doing illegal things that most of society doesn't necessarily approve of, because they've pulled that many people onto their side that will fight their corner for them. So the narcissist, the grandiose narcissist, believes that they are superior, and the world around them agrees with that, which leads them to behave in more arrogant ways, which leads them to get away with their behaviour more. And if anyone speaks out against them, the people who speak the truth, whatever that truth is, of the grandiose narcissist usually get shut down by the narcissist, flying monkeys and enablers who are unwittingly pulled in by the grandiose narcissist's charismatic charm. The vulnerable narcissist is often very shy and very quiet, and when it comes to a vulnerable narcissist, people tend to not be able to call them out because a vulnerable narcissist will have that many people on their side to pity with them, to sympathise with them. So when you call a vulnerable narcissist out on their behaviour, people are going to look poorly on you for lacking the compassion to care for the vulnerable narcissist. Those who can't see through the vulnerable narcissist manipulation, which most of us have been there at some point within our lives, because we don't know about this until we learn about it, and often we have to experience it to learn about it in its full capacity. Both the grandiose and the vulnerable narcissists are extremely manipulative people. The grandiose puts on that charismatic charm to gain the admiration. The vulnerable puts on those pity plays to gain the sympathetic attention. They all have that belief that they are special, that belief that they are superior. They feel entitled to exploit people, and they are incredibly envious of other people, often willing to exploit those they are envious of to get the better of another, and they lack the empathy to care for how their behaviour affects those around them. When it comes to a vulnerable narcissist, they've suffered far worse than anybody else. They've had it far worse than anybody else. If you go to speak about a negative experience with a vulnerable narcissist, they will twist it onto how they've always suffered far worse than you. No one else has ever suffered as much pain as a vulnerable narcissist has, and we can all go through life suffering some form of pain of one form or another. However, a vulnerable narcissist will exaggerate, and they will make stuff up to make sure that they've suffered worse than anybody else. They've been more disadvantaged than anybody else. We can have privileged people in society. You can have privileged narcissistic people that will play on the woe is me vulnerabilities because they're envious of somebody else. They're not willing to recognise the pain that somebody else might be going through. They're just envious that somebody else has got more than them, even though that vulnerable narcissist has quite a lot. They're unable to be grateful for what they do have. They're always seeking more. So one sign of a vulnerable narcissist is they've always had it far worse than anybody else. You can be sat watching something on TV that's happening in the world that's not very pleasant, to say the least, and they will revert the conversation back to something they went through 40 years ago. Well, this generation's not had it as bad as my generation. I had to do this. I didn't have that. What about when I didn't get? They're not going to show any empathy towards the suffering of another. They're going to bring the conversation back onto the suffering of themselves. And some will be openly, pleasantly smug about the suffering of another person. Some will actually sit there and say, no, they know how it feels. Oh, good. See, they don't get everything handed to them on the plate. I had to work at everything. It's about time they learnt about hardship, because they're unwilling to recognise that everybody goes through some form of hardship in life. They're more interested in the hardships that they went through. As they are incredibly envious of other people, they are constantly seeking to pull other people down, to mock people, to belittle people, to criticise people, to judge people. So if they, for example, have a motorbike and they see someone with a convertible, they're going to mock somebody for having a convertible. Yet if you say to them, well, that's what that person wants, that's what that person enjoys, perhaps that person doesn't like riding motorbikes, but you're trying to explain that people have different hobbies, different things that they enjoy doing. However, a narcissist isn't going to like this. Number 3, they're going to see this as criticism to who they are as a person. So they're then going to start attacking you. They're going to twist the conversation onto things such as, well, would you want to own a convertible? And if you wouldn't and you say no, they're going to turn around and say, so you agree with me? I'm right. Who'd want one of those things? Rather than recognise that people obviously want one of those things. That's why people have created them, designed them, sell them, and people buy them. But to a narcissist, even if they don't want that particular item, they do not want somebody else having it. They will belittle people's cars, they will belittle people's homes, they will criticise people's hobbies. If people are walkers, people enjoy walking, they will make up random names like calling them walkers because they're walking, and the narcissist finds it boring. Yet years down the line, you'll find all of a sudden that narcissist suddenly becomes a walker. So they were actually envious of that group of walkers. And rather admitting that they would like to do that for themselves, they seek to pull other people down. And if you criticise them about anything, even if it's just you trying to advise them, if you're a narcissist might want you to go on a walk with them, but that vulnerable narcissist is going to know all the directions and all the way, and they're going to go all out and get you lost. However, they don't want you to know that they don't know where they're going. So if you try and point out that perhaps you should go this way, they're going to then attack you. They're going to take it personally. They're not looking to work with you. They're working against you in a way of making out that they know more than you. 4, there's no meaningful relationships with them. Vulnerable narcissists, grandiose narcissists can hold down long-term relationships with partners, with friends, with family, with exes. They don't treat everybody the same. So they can hold down a long-term relationship. However, there's no depth to it. There's no meaning behind it. There's just manipulation. The narcissist is manipulating the other person by either continually love bombing that person to gain the flying monkey or enabler, or having some form of dirt on that person so the person daren't speak out about them, or having that many supporters that those who do see the narcissist's true colours daren't speak out, because the narcissist supporters will attack them. And this has usually happened in the past, so people have witnessed this before and daren't speak out. 5, the vulnerable usually has those passive-aggressive behaviours. Now, all narcissists can act in passive-aggressive ways. They can all procrastinate, they can all fall silent, they can all sulk, they can all guilt trip. They are all capable of doing these behaviours. The vulnerable narcissist is more likely to fall silent on you when things aren't going their way. They're more likely to sulk at you and those around you when things aren't going their way, to gain that sympathetic attention from others, to get everybody pandering to them so that they can procrastinate and get away with not doing anything, because nobody wants to risk upsetting them. Nobody wants to risk hurting them any further. And as people can genuinely go through hard times, go through times of procrastination, go through times of trying to gather their thoughts, agreeable people can show them compassion and want to try and help them. Those people who are more conscious can recognise what the narcissist is doing and try to call the narcissistic person out, and then they're going to get attacked by the agreeable people who are trying to show the narcissist compassion, not recognising what the narcissist is actually doing. And we can still show a narcissistic person compassion, just from a safe distance, so they can't use it to manipulate us. 6, most narcissists project at one point or another within their lives. They will throw out those unjust accusations, and they're usually things that the narcissist is doing, or they will create a scenario to bait you into feeling an emotion that they're feeling. So if you're going to go out with friends and family to a special occasion and that particular narcissist doesn't want to go because they don't feel like it's about them, they're going to create an atmosphere before you even leave your home to try and put you in a mood. And then once they've got you in that mood, they're going to turn around and go, well, what's wrong with you? Perhaps we shouldn't go if you're feeling like this, to try and project their feelings, their insecurities over to you. And then when you get there, they might purposefully flirt with people in front of you because you were talking to one of your old school friends. You were talking to somebody else. So that created those feelings of jealousy, envy within a narcissist. So they're going to try and pull those feelings of jealousy out within you. And then when you go and discuss it with them, because you know how to communicate, they're going to belittle your feelings. They're going to criticize your feelings. They're going to accuse you of having trust issues. They're going to accuse you of being jealous, because this makes them feel superior and them feel better, that they've made you jealous of me talking to this person. I'm really important, but they've also got to you. 8, they expect you to do for them what they wouldn't do for you, and they expect you to do for them what you have done for other people that they know don't necessarily need you to do. So if you're willing to give a friend or a family member a lift somewhere, the narcissist will create a scenario where they suddenly need a lift somewhere, and they suddenly need a lift before you need to go and give that lift out, to try and sabotage you, to try and make you late for the other person. And if you don't drop everything to serve the narcissist, they're going to say things such as, don't I matter to you? Are they more important to you than I am? After everything I've done for you, to guilt trip you into feeling like you must jump every time they say how high, and make you feel bad for doing for others. As number 9, they demand attention. If they believe the attention is going elsewhere, they're going to create that scenario to gain the attention back onto themselves. So if somebody you know is going through something, but you're going through something, and you go to discuss this with a vulnerable narcissist, they're going to turn it back onto how they've struggled worse, how they've been through worse, how they've feeling more pain, how they've suffered more. They're not doing it to have that two-way conversation, to let you know that they can relate and communicate and empathise with you as you do them. They're doing it to get the topic of conversation away from somebody else, away from you, and get the attention back onto themselves. Number 10, they're always looking to shift the blame. So if you question them about anything, if you call them out about anything, if you try to discuss simple things with them, they're going to come at you with things like, oh, I knew it would be my fault. Oh, I can never do anything right. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot you were perfect. Oh, you're always taking it out on me, aren't you? I'm just not good enough for you. So the topic of conversation then shifts on to you trying to explain to them that they are good enough and that they can do things right, and it's not all their fault, so that you can lift their spirits because they've made you feel guilty for their behaviour. They're trying to blame and shame you so that they don't have to take responsibility. They want to pass that responsibility over to you. They want you to feel responsible for their feelings. However, they're going to create that scenario to pull negative feelings within you, and they want you to take responsibility for your own feelings. Those double standards. They expect you to be there for them, but they will not be there for you. And number 11, holding grudges. Talking badly of people, talking badly of extended family members, talking badly of friends. They tend to gossip a lot about others. They don't tend to have anything nice to say about others, unless by saying something nice about somebody else in somehow gets to one of your insecurities. So if you have an insecurity of some form, if you don't feel capable in doing something, they will praise somebody else who is doing the thing that you want to do. They're wanting to make you feel vulnerable. They're wanting to make you feel weak because they feel weak within themselves, that projection. So if they can bring you down by talking positively of somebody else, they will talk positively about somebody else. However, most of the time, they're going to talk very poorly about other people. They will accuse friends and family members of using them, of exploiting them. They will say that after all I did for that person and they treated me like this. And you'll often find these are people that seemingly to the outward world are doing better than the narcissist, because the narcissist isn't willing to look at how they've attained things, how they've achieved things. The narcissist isn't willing to look at the obstacles that other person had to face. The narcissist just believes that that person has taken something away from the narcissist that they don't deserve, because the narcissist believes they deserve it more. There are lots of different signs for a vulnerable narcissist. Any that you've noticed, please do add those into the comments. When it comes to dealing with these kinds of people, we have to leave our agreeableness, leave our compassion, leave our empathy to one side and come with our conscious thought of recognising their pattern of behaviour, recognising the things they do to other people, recognising the things they say to other people, and recognising who they are as a person. We can sympathise with them. We can feel compassion towards them. There's nothing wrong with that. We just have to no longer allow them to exploit our feelings to use for their advantage. Because no matter what you do for a vulnerable narcissist, it will never be good enough for them. It will never be right for them. And you can end up feeling like you're being narcissistic because you're the one they've projected onto you. You're the one that's left feeling that I'm not good enough for you. I can't do anything right by you. You're the one that's left feeling bad because they've projected their feelings and their insecurities into you. You're the one that's left feeling like the narcissistic one and working harder to please them. So we have to learn to safely distance ourselves from them. No contact is always the best option, which isn't always possible, in which case it needs to be limited contact and grey rock. Thank you very much to all the returning subscribers and your continued support with the channel. If you are new to the channel, I'm Elizabeth Shaw. This channel is all about narcissistic behaviour to give you more understanding of the people you might be dealing with within your life, how to handle yourself around those people if you cannot go no contact, and different methods to find what works for you to help you understand and overcome narcissistic and emotional abuse. If you do find the information helpful on the channel, please do subscribe. If you are looking for further help and understanding in overcoming narcissistic and emotional abuse, I do have several online guides available, and those teachable links are in the video description. If you're looking for someone to speak to, I have partnered with BetterHelp, and their sponsored link is also in the video description. Go out there and create the day that you deserve, because you do deserve to have an amazing day. Bye.